Monday, February 10th. The city streets are crowded for the holiday. Hidden in the chaos is the element, waiting to strike like snakes. And I'm there too, watching. Boys, Malachi Black, Miro, and Ricky Starks have officially been removed from the AEW roster page. For what feels like years, these three talents have seemingly been begging Tony Khan to release them from AEW, and each time a news story popped up, the story was always the same, with Tony Khan standing firm on the fact that he would not be letting wrestlers out of their contracts. But now, that has all changed. At the time of my recording, it looks like Malachi Black's contract has expired, and Miro and Ricky Starks have both been released. This marks a massive shift in professional wrestling, but not for the reasons you might be thinking. Let's talk about it.
Oh, and by the way, Beaner Bronco Buster?
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from?
Improv.
That was wonderful.
A shift in professional wrestling. That seems a little dramatic, right? But what do I mean by it? Let's start with Malachi Black. Over the last year, we have heard report after report about Malachi's status in AEW. I mean, I feel like I can recall at least 5 times where I could have sworn Malachi Black was done with AEW and on his way to WWE. But each time, it turned out to not be true, and with each passing rumor, it started to feel like it would just never happen. Now, I could talk about Malachi Black's time in AEW, but it would really be nothing you guys haven't heard before. In fact, one of my first videos on this channel was about Malachi Black's time in AEW. The fact of the matter is, he is just the kind of guy that is going to land in WWE and really be treated like a star, regardless of the fact that he's simply not the same wrestler that he used to be. I know Penta is pretty popular right now, but if I'm being completely honest, I've never been a big fan. Penta just doesn't do anything for me, but I want to be clear, I mean this as a single star. I love the Lucha Bros as a tag team, but Penta by himself, it's just not very captivating to me. I say all that to say that if WWE is going to treat Penta like such a big deal, I can't even imagine the reaction and treatment a guy like Malachi is going to get. Now let's talk about Miro. I gotta be honest, I don't care about Miro at all. I was never a big fan of Rusev, but when he first joined AEW I was excited. I mean, his body transformation was insane, and I just really thought he could be a big player, but that feeling quickly faded and I have just stopped caring completely. Miro's a guy that I actually wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't end up in WWE. I just don't think they need him, is it really that crazy to say that? Miro would come in and it'd be cool for a few weeks, but I just don't really see him doing anything. I would actually be really interested in seeing Miro go to TNA, and who knows, maybe that leads to some NXT crossovers, I wouldn't be mad at all if we saw Miro versus Obafemi. As a one-off NXT TNA crossover, a match like that could be really cool, but I just have no interest in Miro actually being a part of WWE again, full time. And lastly, we have to talk about Ricky Starks. This has probably been the saddest of the disgruntled AEW employees, because unlike Miro and Malachi Black, Ricky hasn't really had a chance to show the world what he can do. Sure, we all know Ricky's great, but we don't know how great he can be. As much as I'd love to see Ricky go straight to the main roster, it feels like he's NXT bound. Now, I'm not mad at this, the NXT men's division desperately needs someone like him. Someone who can come in and just breathe life into the show. Ricky opens the door for endless possible feuds that could all be really cool, and when he eventually does go to the main roster, it would be even more exciting than if he did now. I say all that, but if Ricky showed up on SmackDown this Friday, I would literally lose my mind. I've just really convinced myself that NXT is the best place for him. So I've quickly talked about the 3 talents AEW released, but I titled the video A Shift in Professional Wrestling. Let's finally talk about what I meant by that. This is a shift for a few reasons, firstly being, Tony Khan actually released wrestlers. This is massive and is going to set a precedent for future AEW wrestlers who might be disgruntled. Not you, sorry Ray. Now, I've always sort of had a split opinion on keeping wrestlers who are asking for releases. I can really see both sides, but I think Baron Corbin expressed my thoughts to a T. At the same time, I always want to side with the professional wrestlers, and if someone has justifiable reasons for wanting to leave a company, I think they should be able to. With this new precedent, I could see wrestlers in the future who ask for their releases actually be granted to them, and that's just a massive deal. Another reason this is a shift in professional wrestling is just the quality of talent that is about to hit the market. If my predictions end up happening, this will be 3 major talents all landing in technically different companies. Miro could immediately win the TNA Championship, Ricky Starks could immediately win the NXT Championship, and Malachi Black could immediately win the Speed Championship. Just kidding. It's WrestleMania season, and I think Malachi Black could end up doing something that's actually really important. You know, Zelina Vega was recently moved to SmackDown, and I think that is 100% a sign that Malachi will also be on SmackDown. In my Royal Rumble booking video, I talked about Malachi Black starting a feud with Damian Priest, and yeah, I still think that would be perfect. After that, feuds for the US title against LA Knight, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes, those would all just be amazing, and I'm so excited to see what Black can do. In conclusion, unlike a lot of things in professional wrestling that get blown wildly out of proportion, this is actually a big deal. Ricky Starks, Miro, and Malachi Black have not been featured super heavily on AEW TV recently, but the AEW roster is still losing 3 somewhat big names. I just can't wait to see what the world of wrestling looks like a month from now, or who knows. I'm recording this before Raw, and any of the names we talked about could literally show up tonight. I just love wrestling because there really is no other industry quite like it, and I can't wait to see what Ricky Starks, Miro, and Malachi Black all end up doing.